Jody, how you doing? Liz, all the way from the UK, is that right? Yay. And Miss Diane up the Eastern Seaboard. Diane, I have a special
Hi.
moment that you might recognize here later on. Good to see you.
Okay, you too.
Barbara, nice to see you.
Barb's here because we just had breakfast and she said, I want to come.
All right. I love it.
Sorry, I'm talking to myself here.
It's the best conversation I have all day.
True.
All right, letting in other misfits. Here we go. Liz, what time is it in your neck of the woods?
It is
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to get up and do something with the light in about 20 minutes because it's that funny time where it's kind of bright outside, dark inside. So yeah, I'm sort of like half in pajamas, but not the half you can see.
It's it's the business on the top, party on the bottom.
Well, it's not really it's not really business on the top.
Well, if you don't follow Liz Wheeler on LinkedIn, you gotta do it. She is my favorite health coach on LinkedIn. And it says a lot because I'm married to a health coach. Don't tell my wife Morgan.
I was gonna say, what? You're on dangerous ground there, mate.
You
But
engage with my content a lot more than my wife does, so that's part of it. But I tease. No, you're amazing, Liz. Your stuff is always so good and helpful.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Got a couple other amazing folks have joined. Mr. Jeff Holloway, Rockstar on LinkedIn. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Marcos, David, Mariah. Ooh, yay, Mariah. We've got Mr. Dan, Community Band of Misfits leader, Joe Gleason. Joel, long time no see. Good to see you. Yeah. All right. I'm just letting in the rest of our misfits. Nick, long time no see. Are you dialing from Greece? You wish. I wish. Yeah, if you ever want to know about living in Greece, talk to Nick. He's the man. Kelly, good to see you, Mr. Cow. Yeah, I love it. Oh, Miss Ann McDermott. This is great. I got old friends, new friends, Caitlin, Susie. Oh, I love it. Do I actually have to present today or can I just hang out with you guys? You probably want me to say something of value if you're going to show up, but I'm having too much of a good time. All right, we have a couple more joining us and then we'll get the ball rolling. Hey, hello, Lori. Good to see you. Becca, welcome, welcome. Have I missed anybody? I think I've captured everybody so far. Jen, you are another part of our European crew along with Liz Wheeler. Remind me again where you live, Jen?
I'm in Zurich.
It sounds so romantic. I live in Zurich. I live in Richmond. You're like, oh, how boring. Zurich. Oh, tell me more. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, couple more here, and then we will get the party going. Excellent, excellent. Excellent. Okay, great. Well, I guess I should probably sing for my supper here and start adding some value. So let me share my screen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, here. So you are here because you are interested in a timeshare in Boca Raton, correct? So I got a deal for you? I'm kidding. No, you're here because you're an expert and you want to continue to grow your business being an expert. And I'm here because what I am is an expert who completely fumbled his way into growing my consultancy by selling myself. And so I'm here to share with you the ins and outs, what to do, what not to do, and also the lessons learned along the way. And we're going to have some fun today on this too. So I'm just going to navigate my Zoom so as more people come in, I can see them. So forgive me if I'm a little distracted. There's a lot going on here. Okay. So let's get into it, my friends. Yeah. So the way I thought about today was I really wanted to think about what are the biggest mistakes that experts make as they're selling themselves, as they're marketing themselves, as they're positioning themselves. What are those biggest fumbles? Not because experts are smart people, we're all smart. It's just that we don't necessarily have kind of a sales or a marketing mindset. And even for those of us, and I speak with confidence, being a marketing expert for 20 some years, there's something about marketing yourself versus your company, brand, or service that's just a little bit different. So I really wanted to identify, well, what are those things, those stumbling blocks that I could add value today and talk about? And that's what we're going to cover today. And I am, just so you know, the kind of person who I don't believe in formulas. I don't believe in one size fits all. I think all of that's garbage. I don't believe in cookie cutter, but I'm a big fan of frameworks. And that's what I'm going to share today, 3 frameworks. Because frameworks are beautiful because you can put yourself into the framework and get the right answer for you. Because all of us here are coming in from different places. We're selling different things. We have different life experiences. We have different goals. And so I wanted to create some universal approaches so all of you can benefit today. So that's my jam. And so there are 4 expert traps that I'm going to help you to avoid. Maybe you're in a trap now and you don't even know it. Or if you feel stuck in any one of these 3 categories that you can see here, I'll tell you how to get out of it. And there's a 4th, and it's the biggest. And it's the trap that very rarely do we see coming. And I'll spill the beans on that as we get toward the end. So we're going to look at sales today, positioning, and we're also going to look at marketing. Yeah, so that'll be our framework today. And as you may have seen when you registered for this, with your permission, I would like to share maybe 2 to 3% of our presentation will be around BombCom, which is the Band of Misfits community that launches in October. I want you to know right now, and my good friend who's a sales guru on this call, Joel, and I both share the same philosophy. We do not like to sell. We do not like to be sold to. So as I talk a little bit about BombCom today, it's not to sell you. I don't want you to hide your wallet or feel like, oh gosh, here I go, here's the sales pitch. But I want you to know what your options are and what's available to you out there as you continue to grow your expert practice. So much like sitting in the exit row, I need a head nod or a thumbs up that it's okay that I can talk a little bit about it. Give me, okay. Yay. Thank you, Mariah. I'm speaking on behalf. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. You guys are nice. Okay. Great. Okay. So just a quick, for those of you who don't know me, a little bit about yours truly. My name is Stephen Megling, and that's always the big reveal because it looks like Mogling. Nobody can pronounce it, including my family, but it's Stephen Megling. The O is silent. A couple things in my pedigree and my background. Former copywriter for Fortune 500 companies. In my career, I've been an account planner for billion-dollar companies, leading strategy. I've worn the CMO title, the CSO title. At one point in my career, I was the quote unquote thought leader for an aspect of my industry. And so those are all my successes. And I'm going to get to a big failure here in just a moment, because that's really what you guys want to hear about. Like, all right, Stephen, tell me about your darkest hour. And I'll get to that in a minute because it's a great story. It actually led to this workshop today. But the thing that I want to conclude on in terms of getting to know me is that I have had an obsession almost my whole life with the mind, the brain and the mind, and how we think, how we show up in the world. I originally was excited about the mind because I'm an advertising writer. I wanted to sell Kelly Brockmeyer cookies and toilet cleaner, and like, how do I market that in a 30-second commercial? So marketing psychology was my instant passion when I was in my 20s, but I matured since then. And I've really been fascinated and have studied probably 10,000 hours on why we do what we do and how do we motivate ourselves and others to take good actions together. And for me, because of that work, my philosophy with all the clients that I've worked with is really twofold. How can I help you lower your stress? Because we all have stress. If we're going after anything of value, we introduce stress. How can I lower your stress while increasing your fulfillment at the same time? Which is why, for those of you who are interested in my logo, or I have this little symbol here that's supposed to represent the yin yang symbol, it's really about how do we do both at the same time? Because I know from the past, I've had clients who have had money stress. They've been recently laid off. They need to replace their income. They need to grow their consultancy in a hurry. And we can do that. And I'll show you ways to do that today. Man, I have a great track record for doing that. And we can start to relieve the money stress, but there's also other stresses that come into being, especially if we're going on an adventure to do something great. So I've always been fascinated by that idea of how do we help each other lower stress and add fulfillment. So you'll see a lot of that flavor today as we talk. I know you come here because you want to grow your business, but I also want you to feel an incredible sense of fulfillment in all of your pursuits. And by the way, just saying hello to Holly and Albert and Becca. Albert representing the Phillies once again. There you go. All right. Keep adding wonderful people in here. Okay. So get in the chat for a moment. I've been made an introduction to myself. I want to learn a little bit more about all of you. And so here's a prompt. How are you checking in today? What do you care about right now? For example, are you somebody who, what I would call is consulting curious, meaning you're thinking about building out a consultancy for yourself, you're kind of baby stepping it, maybe it's a side hustle. If that's you, let me know. Are you somebody who's an expert right now, but you find that your sales pipeline is a bit sluggish or could be better? If that's you, let me know. Are you somebody who has a consultancy or an expert-led business where it's really heavily, overly reliant upon referrals? Let me know. Yeah, just so share in the chat, just so I have a good sense of where we're checking in. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. I also have clients who are very profitable. They do well, but they have what I call gorilla client syndrome. They've got one anchor client that represents 50% or more of their revenue. And while it's a great client, things change all the time and they don't really like that. Thank you for letting me. Oh, I love this. Gorillas. Yeah, there's a lot of gorillas. Yeah. Whew. Good. And then are you just somebody who's like, I don't even know where to begin? If that's you, welcome to the club. We're here to help you. The WTF moment. So thank you for weighing in here today. Good, good, good. I love this referral risk. Yes, yes. Okay, very nice. Very nice. Dealing with uncertainty is hard. Caitlin, yay. Thank you for being brave. Caitlin acknowledged that the uncertainty piece is hard. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to help you today grow your business in a way that you have a lot more certainty. Absolutely. And stick around and I'll help you with different ways to help with the mind with uncertainty as well. So thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Okay. So I teased out that I had a little bit of a, challenging story about myself that I wanted to share because I had a WTF moment about 3.5 years ago, close to 4. And that was the moment where I had thought about doing something on my own, starting my own company. I had a name, Band of Misfits. Candidly, I had no idea what it meant. It just sounded cool. I thought, yeah, someday maybe I'll do something on my own, call it Band of Misfits, and I'll kind of figure it out, give myself about a year or so. And that was like on a Thursday, I had that thought. And then the next day, my boss called me into a meeting, and 15 minutes later, I was out of a job. Didn't see it coming. I didn't have a pipeline. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have anything. I didn't even know exactly what I would do. The only thing that I knew was that I didn't want to work for anybody ever again. I just, I'm a misfit. I don't want to work for anybody. Like, screw this. But then that left me figuring out what to do. And the first couple months were really, really challenging for me. A lot of dark night of the soul, a lot of insecurity, a lot of worries, a lot of fears. What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? Nothing seemed to be working. And on a Friday night, well, have you ever had that moment? And I hope you haven't, but some of you can relate, where you just get so stressed out that you feel like the walls are closing in on you. It's just everything gets really tight. I had one of those experiences and I thought, well, let me go take my dog for a walk. Maybe getting some fresh air would help me out. So I took my dog for a walk and it didn't actually work. Like the thoughts in my head were like, it's never gonna work. What are you doing? You might as well give up, go get a job, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was awful. And then something happened that I can't explain. As I was walking and I felt all that stress, I heard a voice. It was an older man's voice. Never heard this voice before. In my head, of course. True story. And it said, keep going. Don't give up. Keep going. Don't give up. And in that moment, I felt new life being breathed into me. I felt suddenly like, is this a sign? Where is this coming from? But I felt a sense of animation. I felt a sense of purpose. I felt like, you know what? I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. And I wish that I could tell you that on Saturday morning, I knew exactly what my business was going to be and how I was going to grow it. Didn't happen. But nonetheless, within the first year of launching that consultancy, I had not only replaced my high six-figure income, but I actually had grown at 66%. And every year since then, I've grown Band of Misfits between 20 to 30% easily, doing candidly minimal work to grow that pipeline. Intentional work, and that's what we're going to get to today. And I tell you that story because I don't know where you're checking in today in terms of stress and uncertainty in your pipelines. A lot of you have shared in the chat. But I made a decision shortly after that moment. I don't know if it was just my brain giving me just like, dude, this guy's so stressed out, at least give him some hope. I don't know if it came from the universe, Mother Nature, God, whatever. But I just made a decision that if I could figure this out, I was going to help other people. Because what I was going through, I never wanted anybody else to go through. And that's so much of what we're going to be talking about today. It's so much. And in fact, because my mother was a school teacher, I inherited her heart of teaching. So I began documenting what was working, what wasn't working. Don't do this, do this, don't do this, do this. So everything that we're going to learn today comes from not just being road tested by yours truly, but because I had so many other consultants and experts come to me and say, Stephen, you seem to be doing a kick-ass job with your company. Can you teach me what you're doing? And I began coaching and teaching them, and they began to grow. They began to thrive, going from layoffs to making $300,000 their first year in business, being able to turn around a failing business, a business that a client of mine, had grown for 10 years and it was falling apart. And she was 2 weeks away from getting a job. And we turned around that business in less than 6 months, and she had her most profitable year ever. So everything that I'm teaching you today, guys, you have to understand this is real life stuff. This stuff works. So you probably want to know what we're going to teach. So let's go into it. Okay. So the first trap that we're going to talk about is the sales trap. The sales trap. And I'll be interested to hear from my sales friends who are on this call what their experience is when I share this. So here's the sales trap for an expert. Experts love to talk about things like what the client needs and what the client's desires are. I mean, after all, we're experts. We want to help our clients to achieve their key outcomes. So we lean into it. Tell us more, prospect, about what your desires are. Tell us more about what your needs are. And because we're experts, we can actually see the client's needs long before they can. We can see around the corners. And we're experts. We love this stuff. And interestingly, a lot of client prospects, when we're talking to them, gravitate toward what they want, what their desires are, what their goals are. But the problem is none of this is going to create a sale opportunity. None of it. And I'll explain why. Because until a client's fears and frustrations are addressed, they're not going to do anything. It's actually the fears and frustrations that elicit the sale opportunity. Remember I told you that I've been fascinated about the mind? Well, human beings are wired to be short-term thinkers, immediate gratification. Because up until the day before yesterday, the ability to survive the day was like our primary focus. And so we're still wired, even in the land of Uber Eats and same-day delivery with Amazon, we're still, all the creature comforts that we have, we're still focused on what's right in front of us. And when you have a client prospect and you're talking with them about the deal and the opportunity, the first order of business is to resolve those fears and frustrations. Here's a stupid analogy to help prove my point. I'm going to call on Joe Gleason. Joe, can you come off mute for a second?
Sure.
Joe, first off, thank you for coming today. Good to see you.
Yeah.
All right. Joe, tell me a place on earth that you would love to travel to, a vacation destination that you go to frequently where you have to fly, or a place you've never been that's on your bucket list.
I've never been to Ireland, but I would like to go to Ireland.
Right. You got to go to Ireland. You got to go to Ireland. Okay, thank you, Joe. So here's the stupid analogy to prove my point about fears and frustrations are what clients care about first before needs and desires. So Joe calls me up and says, Stephen, I finally booked my ticket to Ireland. Can you? Thank you, Kate, because Caitlin's already giving you an itinerary in the chat. This is like, see, this is the kind of community that I'm building at BombCom, by the way. Okay, so anyway, so Joe, you call me up and say, Stephen, can you give me a lift to the airport? I said, sure. So we get in the car and we get onto the highway, and all of a sudden we're stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. And after a few minutes, Joe starts to realize I might miss my flight. Like, I don't think I'm going to get to the airport on time. And I'm Mr. Optimistic, and I say, but Joe, you've been waiting for this moment. It is going to be so amazing when you touch down in Ireland. Think about the green grass and the Guinness, blah, blah, blah. All your desires. And Joe, candidly, could you give a rip? No. I mean, feel free to disagree with me, but you're like, dude, I am going to be late and miss my flight. I said, but Joe, you've been working so hard, dude. You really need this trip, and it's just going to be so perfect for you. But Joe can't hear a thing because his fears and frustrations are getting in the way. And the problem with us as experts is that we so desperately and so enthusiastically want to solve those needs and desires that we go to that place, but the client isn't actually buying that at first. What they're buying from us is a resolution to their fears and frustrations. So our opportunity as experts when we're talking with a prospect is to help understand and surface to the top, what are those fears and frustrations that you have? What are those things? And these are things that they often don't want to admit, because who likes to admit what they're afraid of? Really what keeps them up at night. And for those of you selling into organizations of any size, part of the frustrations that you need to surface on are who are the idiots and dingbats and weenies who are going to be foot draggers in getting approval for the deal, or stupid stakeholders that we've got to bring along for the ride. So your job is to care as much about the fears and frustrations, start to resolve those with the client, because it's only at that moment they can say, you know what, I am going to hire Jody. I am going to hire Barbara. Diane, come on board. So that's the first framework. Fears and frustrations, needs, and then desires. And because I like to keep things simple here at Band of Misfits, I put it on a bumper sticker for you to remember today. Put an end to the nightmare, then make their dreams come true. Then make their dreams come true. And by the way, you'll get the replay today, but I highly recommend you screen grab anything that's going to help you today. So that's framework number one, trap number one on the sales process. Let's talk about the second trap, the positioning trap. Now, Diane, get ready, because you and I had a great conversation a few weeks ago, and you might see a little bit of something coming up here in a minute, okay? We had fun together a couple of weeks ago brainstorming. So the positioning trap. Now, I have to be honest with you all. I've been in marketing and branding for 20 plus years. Clients have paid my companies a lot of friggin' money to do rebranding, repositioning. Most of the time, if I can be honest, and I've seen this with other agencies, they have this whole song and dance and blah, 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 blah. And in the end, they just go away and come up with the most creative idea and package it up and say, aha, we've meditated on a mountain for 20 years and here's your new positioning. But I digress, picking on my industry. The problem is, as experts, we are led to believe that if we want to go into business for ourselves and grow our companies, we need to have these finely wrought, perfect platforms for our positioning. And there's a whole industry out there of knowledge workers who say, read this 300-page book and you too will have the most perfect positioning. These are just some of the books in my library. I've read most all of them, and they're all great. They're all smart, and they're almost all completely unhelpful if you want to grow a six-figure expert business. So I'm going to share with you a much easier approach, because when I go into LinkedIn, I see so many gurus saying so many things, and it's like none of this is actually helpful. None of this is even necessary. In fact, it's actually a hindrance to your ability to sell high quality solutions to people. Okay. So the first recommendation is don't try to put yourself into a box. I know experts who candidly could not even tell you what they did for a living, and they're making millions of dollars. I know companies that are making a lot of money. And if you get their senior executives around the table and say, in a sentence, what do? You'd be there for a lot of hours. Now, at some point in a company's journey and at some point in your journey, you're going to absolutely want to have that beautiful crystallized positioning statement. But it's not necessary. If you're consulting curious or if you have sluggish sales, I'm going to share with you a much easier way to approach this. So you only need to answer 3 basic questions when you want to talk about yourself with prospects, online or otherwise. What do I do? Who do I do it for? And why it matters. And notice that I don't talk about differentiation. That comes later, if ever. 9 times out of 10 for everybody on this Zoom and everybody who's watching in replay mode, they're going to hire Ann McDermott because they know Ann McDermott. They're going to hire Lori Wood because they heard she's a rock star. They're going to hire Joel because, hey, you worked over here and you helped got those results. Just come on in. We'll figure out your positioning later. Nobody really cares when it comes to expertise. Your reputation in many ways will precede you, and you will always be what you need to be in the eyes of the customer. And I'm dwelling on this trap because I don't know where any of you are checking in on this positioning journey, but I ran afoul of this for the longest time. Can I see a show of hands here? Who here identifies as a creative? So you don't like to be put into a box. That's the key mark of a creative, right? Okay, yeah. So creatives, we're the worst kind. We hate to be pigeonholed at all costs. Yeah. So I don't want you to be pigeonholed. I don't want you to put it in a box. Here is a framework that I would invite you to use instead. I call it the pick a lane framework. So your opportunity, whether you're in the first year of your consultancy, you're in year 1, 2, or 3. After year 3, you'll have it all figured out. But for the first 3-ish years of your consultancy, what you want to do is just want to road test your offers, your solutions, and your audiences. And I describe it as picking a lane because imagine you're driving in Los Angeles on the 405 and it's like multiple lanes, like 4 to 5 lanes. Your job is to get into a lane, test some things out, sell a couple things to people, and see what happens. See if you like it. See if it's an easy sell. See if you like delivering that solution. See if you like working with that type of client. And if you don't, go to a different lane. Chances are it's going to be very similar, but differentiated enough. Maybe it's a tailored or tweaked offer. Maybe instead of going up the organization, you sell below into middle management. Maybe you do this version of your core service instead of this whole enchilada. And your job is just to pretend that you're driving a car and the destination is the kind of business that you want. And you're just going to keep moving in different lanes to find out what feels best for you. I think it'll be easy for you to really get this concept if I share with you an example. So I was talking with a wonderful person and we were brainstorming together her unique journey of positioning. And I think it's very relatable. So I've changed a few things around to make it really universal. But here's a way to think about it. So suppose you start off and you say, I'm a leadership coach. That's a lane. It's not a great lane because there's 10,000 million gazillion leadership coaches, but it's a lane. And at some point you want to differentiate, but you want to differentiate in the right kind of ways. So you get in your little positioning car and you're like, I'm a leadership coach, I'm a leadership coach, I'm a leadership coach. You sell a couple leadership coaching packages. And then after a while you realize, okay, I don't want to be a leadership coach to that kind of dweeb. I actually like working with that kind of dweeb. Or you may find out that, what? One of the things that I keep finding out from my clients is that they want to elevate their presence. They hear about executive presence and they don't feel like they've got the command of the room. So you know what? I'm going to shift lanes and focus on elevating my own presence. So I'll help you elevate the C-suite presence. That's the lane I'm in. And you keep going down that lane and it's a pretty good lane, but it gets a little bumpy and it's congested because there's a lot of other people offering something similar. And then you say, well, you know what? I tend to work best with female leaders, especially in healthcare, because maybe that's the industry that you've come from or supported, or there's a lot of need in the marketplace. So you reposition yourself then as the coach for female executive healthcare leaders. And then over time, as you get to learn more about what you do, you say, you know what, my real sweet spot, the one that I'm committing to from here on out until I change my mind again because I find new evidence that I do other things that I enjoy better or more profitable. I'm advancing women to executive leadership roles within healthcare. And so see how easy positioning can be? You just pick a lane, drive your car, see what you think. Test offers, test different audiences, make some shifts, keep driving your car, keep getting more marketplace feedback. See what you like to do. Then you shift again, and shift again. And pretty soon, you've created a positioning for yourself that isn't just you sitting there with a spreadsheet or on a whiteboard. by yourself remotely trying to come up with how you want to tell your story. You're just simply out in the marketplace delivering value and getting real-time feedback. So that is the positioning piece. And because I like to keep things simple, let me give it to you in a bumper sticker. Don't put yourself in a box. Pick a lane again. Pick a lane instead. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is the marketing trap. And this one, I'm going to stretch my legs a little bit. One of the things that I find over and over again as I talk to people is that they really get stuck on how to go to market. How do I find new customers? And one of the mistakes that I made, that a lot of people make, is they go follow a guru who offers a formula. I'm going to help you land 10,000 clients on LinkedIn, or if you run this email campaign sequence, you'll elicit X number of campaign results. And I just don't find any of those to work nearly as well as what I'm about to show you, because it's flexible and modular based on your goals and needs. And I call it the golden rings framework. Yeah. So there's 3 rings that I want you to think about when it comes to your audiences, and you're just going to grow outward. The first ring, and candidly the most important ring, is what I call your inner circle. These are the most trusted people in your life, typically 3 to 5. Typically 3 to 5. Now think for a moment. Who would you regard as the most trusted people in your life or your business life? Feel free to tell me in the chat. And this is not a trick question, by the way. Who are the kinds of people that you really want to count on? For me, it's my wife, my partner in crime, Morgan. It's the people who helped me build Band Misfits. Yeah. It's people who are mentors to me or coaches that I've learned from and leaned on. And I say 3 to 5. It could be more. I don't want it for you to be any less than 3. So just reflect for yourself for a moment. Think about, do I have my inner circle? Do I have that really tight container of people that I can lean on, who I can learn from, who can help me execute and implement? Because if you're inside a BombCom, I can promise you, you'll easily fill up your inner circle. Easily fill up your inner circle if you don't have that already. And that's really important because one of our wonderful attendees talked about dealing with uncertainty. And there's a lot of uncertainty out there. I mean, the truth is, everything changes all the time. Now, that's good news for us, because if you don't like how things are going, everything changes. So it's likely to change for your favor. But day to day, week to week, you're just going to be riding this wave pattern, which is life, because there's no straight lines in the universe, right? Everything's a wave. So you really want to make sure you have your inner circle dialed in. And the next ring are your advocates. These are your clients and your partners. I call them door openers. This is a group, it's going to vary for everybody. 8 to 10 people, maybe more, maybe less. But I want that ring for you to keep growing. I want that ring to keep growing. And the concern here that I have is that most expert consultants and professional coaches stick with their core ring of their core network of people who've been good to them over the years with referrals and business, and they don't grow that ring. And that is very, very, very costly. Very costly. Because at some point, if you don't nurture and grow that ring, those count-onable referral sources will dry up. And you don't want to have to grow that ring overnight, because it takes time to build the bond with those advocates. So again, I just want you to reflect just for a moment, how is your advocate ring? Are you happy with it? Could it be better? And there's no right or wrong here. I just want you to take these frameworks and start reflecting on them for yourself. Now, if you attend to your inner circle and your advocates, you're a rock star. You will have a great and thriving career selling yourself and your expertise. And the way I recommend doing that is with a simple framework that I teach my clients called the serendipity method. And the serendipity method is just a very simple, lightweight framework that allows you every week to continue growing the rings, especially those advocate rings. And the reason I call it serendipity is because we want to think, if I make 10 phone calls or send 100 emails or do 25 DMs in LinkedIn, that's going to yield X number of new client opportunities. The gurus out there have trained us to believe that there is a one-size-fits-all formula for growth. And if you just buy their expensive package, you too will have these kinds of results. But all of that is garbage in my experience. What really happens in life is serendipity. You're going somewhere and all of a sudden you get an email from an old person that used to work with that said, Barbara, I'm thinking of you, like, I really need your help. Are you available to do some consulting for me? It's serendipity. All of a sudden, the universe just says, hey, here's a new client opportunity. But I have a firm belief based on practiced experience that if you do the work, the universe will meet you more than halfway with those serendipity moments. So the framework that I teach within BombCom is a very simple organizing system for ensuring that week to week, you're continuing to expand those advocates. Not through content, not through doing a TED Talk, but just simply nurturing and building your network. And I'll give you an example of the serendipity method in practice. The other day, I got an email and a text from my former podcast producer. I put my podcast on sabbatical briefly, but Sir Isaac and I call him Sir Isaac, yeah, we stay in touch. And he said, hey, I've got a client, great client, very large client. They really need to hire a CMO. And they're out there getting bids right now. And I said, I know the guy. And can I connect you? And I said, yeah, please do. But just so you know, Sir Isaac, I'll take the call and I would like to help this person, but I'm not beyond capacity. I can't handle any more clients right now. But let me see if I can add value. And so this particular prospect, we had a delightful conversation the other day, charming. I surfaced up her fears and frustrations because all she wanted to talk about were needs and desires. And once we finally realized what her needs were, I said, Jessica, to be honest with you, there's no way that I could support you at least until second quarter next year, and you need results now. But I know the right person. Let me put you in touch. And I did. And that's the serendipity method. Nurture your relationships with your advocates. And the reason I did BombCom, guys, is because this community is because as you get busier with clients, the first thing we all stop doing is building out our network. It's the first thing that just goes away because we're so busy. In fact, this fall in October, when we launch, every month I want a guest expert to come in and help support the community. And our first expert is actually here on the call. Her name is Mariah. And Mariah is many things to many people, but she is the reason why coaches and consultants can sleep well at night, because she is an organizational expert, a productivity expert, and a planning and project management expert. And I've asked Mariah to come in and help us design our ideal consulting week. No burnout, no stress. And what I love about Mariah's approach is that she helps us to figure out what are the handful of things that we really want to commit to doing every week and every month to continue to grow our business. So we're ahead of the curve. So we're doing CEO hours. We're working on the business. We're creating the pipeline and nurturing those rings. So within BombCom, starting in October, Mariah will be our first guest expert. And I'm so thrilled that she said yes to participating. And throughout the rest of the fall, I have 2 other amazing experts that I'm bringing into BombCom. The first is, his name is Trevor Bragdon, and he is a world-class persuasion expert, not a sleazy persuasion expert. He's not another version of who's that dweeb with the nose tape, Hermosi? No offense to any Hermosi fans. Please don't cancel me. He's got a cult following. But Trevor actually studied behavioral economics in London. He's come back years later and now teaches consultants and experts like us how to be more persuasive in communications using very simple, elegant techniques. And he's going to do a masterclass on using storytelling in the art of persuasion. And then also my favorite coach on LinkedIn, Joseph Logan, who's so thoughtful and so deep and so long-term in his perspective, is going to do a very grounded coaching moment for us in December on how to lead in uncertainty. Because if there's one thing that we can say about this economy and what's going to happen next, everything is uncertain. And I want all of us inside of BombCom to be grounded and rooted so that we advance and explore and win together. So the last ring, so 3 rings: inner circle, advocates, and fans. Fans are your future clients, and you don't need to grow this ring if you don't want. You don't need to grow this ring, not to have a thriving business. But what you do if you want to continue to grow your business and be a rock star is create fans. And how you create fans is through a public display of expertise. And I don't care if it's giving a speech or writing a white paper or starting a YouTube channel or hosting a podcast or being a podcast guest. I don't care what it is. But you need to have your expertise on display. It's the only way that you can continue to grow those rings. And you don't have to do this, by the way. I highly recommend it, but you don't have to. You can have a thriving business just focused on those first 2 rings. And of all of the different ways that you could promote a public display of expertise, by far the most profitable, ROI-driven tool and channel out there on the planet for people like us is LinkedIn. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. And I told all of you at the beginning that I've been a professional copywriter for 20 plus years. And when I launched Band of Misfits over 3.5 years ago, I thought, LinkedIn, I'm going to own you. We're going to rock and roll. This is where I'm going to get all my clients. And for over a year, my posts were sad trombones. I had no traction whatsoever, but I didn't give up. I thought, I'm going to figure this game out. There are rules to the LinkedIn game, and I'm going to figure out the rules. And I did over time. And it's what I teach all of my clients. On average, I elicit between 3 to 5 new clients directly from my content every quarter, guaranteed. And I publish only 2 to 3 times a month or a week, excuse me. And I know the rules, and I want you to know the rules of the game. Because if LinkedIn is a platform that matters to you to grow your business, I want you to know what the rules are so that you can win too. And they're not hard. But once you know the rules, you can break the rules. So that's why this fall inside of BombCom for our founding members, I'm going to teach a several-week LinkedIn expertise masterclass series. I'm going to show you the rules. I'm going to show you the 2 types of content that you need to create consistently for countable clients. I'm going to show you a very simple, friendly technique for moving somebody who's engaged with your content into a call, and then if it makes sense and it's a win-win-win, into a client relationship. And all of that in less than 3 hours a week. What I love about this masterclass is going to be hands-on. So for those of you who want to attend it, bring your content. We're going to look at it real time. We're going to work through it together. post feedback. And what I love about, and hopefully you're experiencing this within this webinar today, the power of having people like you inside together, working on a shared goal and a shared mission. So I'm going to be one of the experts this coming quarter, and I'm delighted about it. This is stuff that just I get so jazzed out about because it took a long time for me to figure it out, and I can't wait to show amazing people how to win. Okay, couple last things here. Okay, so here's the Insight bumper sticker for the golden rings. Very simple. Grow your rings, grow your audience. When you think about how you want to grow your business, just think about those rings and growing them and making intentional choices about how to expand, how to deepen and build the bond. Okay. So let me share with you, with your permission here, just a few things about what I have and what we built inside of BombCom. And then I'm going to share with you, as we wrap, the final trap, the slipperiest slope of them all. So what we built within BombCom. So I want to be with you as often during your entrepreneur consulting journey as we can. So we have live coaching twice a month. We also have a guest masterclass once a month. So at least 3 out of 4 weeks we're together. And all of this will be recorded for replay and put into the library as well. For a special bonus for our founding members who enroll with us this fall, there'll be live participants in that LinkedIn Advanced Masterclass, which I'm so thrilled about. And then we're also going to do a book club series too. I'm a big reader, and there are some books that have absolutely changed the way I think and show up, business and otherwise. So we'll have book club opportunities together. But I think as important as any of this great expertise stuff that you get to learn and grow from, actually have a community together, peers that you can learn from and lean on. Now, when I started thinking about all of the other solutions out there, things that I worked on, I looked at private coaching, which I'm a private coach. And so those fees for a 6-month engagement are typically starting at $9,000 or more. Say hello to my kitty and say goodbye to my kitty. Wrong time, cat. Executive peer groups typically are priced at $7,500 or more. Masterminds, I know it's fun to go to Costa Rica for a mastermind or Bali, but it's pretty freaking pricey. And then you're excited, and then you come back and you're like, okay, what the hell do I do next? And then there are free resources, books, videos, podcasts, which I love. I'm a devout reader and I use my AI agent all the time, but the studies all show when you do it yourself and when you learn yourself, while that's great, it tends to take you 6 to 8 years to achieve the results that you want. And I want you to have the results sooner, faster, better than you thought it was even possible. And I also love my little ChatGPT agent. But the funny thing is, it just simply mirrors the prompts that I give it. So if I'm feeding it garbage, I'm going to get garbage back. So when I looked at how we would price this, I wanted to make BombCom as affordable as possible for everybody. Yeah, so we're looking at it's $374 a month averaged out. Typically, and we do a quarterly subscription. Sorry, my cat is deciding that she wants to apparently participate in this presentation as well. Yeah. So, and my promise to all of you who join, and I hope all of you who this resonates will deeply consider joining us for our first cohort starting the 1st of October, is that you will get absolutely a minimum 5x ROI from your investment. My goal is to get you the revenue and financial goals that you want as soon as possible. So that's my commitment to you. So what I'm going to do is put in the chat a link to learn more about BombCom. And if it resonates, we'd love to see you inside. So as we move to the final part of our presentation, I just want to talk about briefly the head of community, Mr. Dan, who's on the call here. Wave hello, Dan. I looked high and low for the nicest, friendliest, most optimistic giver on the planet for head of community, and I found it in Dan. So when you enroll, the first thing that you're going to get is a warm hug from us, and Dan is going to onboard you. And what we want to know instantly is, what do you need? What are your goals? What's keeping you up at night? What are all those fears and frustrations along with your desires? Because we're going to build out this curriculum around your needs, and the coaching will be tailored to what you let us know matters most to you. And one of the most amazing benefits about being within the community is that you're going to be able to connect and network with peers. And Dan is going to be that white glove service to help you connect with the kinds of people for the solutions, for the insights, for the mentoring that you're looking for. So thank you, Dan. Really excited that you're on the team. Okay, worst trap. Worst trap. And I'm going to turn off this. Okay. You remember that I told you at the start that I've been obsessed with the mind for 20, 30, 40 years? I've learned a lot of things about how the mind works. And the way I give back what I've learned is, if you look at my LinkedIn recommendations, you'll see things like transformational, life-changing. I can't repay Stephen for what he's done for me. This is not bragging. This is just science. Because I understand how the mind works, I help people to interrupt the thought patterns that are holding people back. And it's not hard. It really isn't. Sometimes it's 15 minutes of saying a few words in your ear, and all of a sudden it's like, where have you been my whole life? Why have I been worried about all this stuff? I get it. But there's one thing about how the mind is set up that I learned 3 years ago that startled me, if I can be honest. And I want to tell you what that is, because it's the worst trap of all. Here's the thing about the mind. The way we're set up, we absolutely need safety at all times. That's what the mind and the brain is constantly scanning a horizon for. 7 to 8 times, 9 times per second, the mind, the brain, all of our sensors are looking for threats of danger. So we're wired for safety, but just a tick above that, as far as need, is the need to make sense of the world around us and who we are. And the way the mind figures out who we are and how we make sense of the world is by the stories the mind tells itself. We're governed by stories. And that insight was groundbreaking insight. It was a psychologist by the name of Dan McAdams. So if you want to read an academic, wonky book on the topic, it's called The Stories We Live By. And what Dan McAdams figured out is that we're constantly telling ourselves stories to make sense of who we are and our place in the world and how the world is to us. I hope you can hang on for 3 minutes after the top of the hour so I can finish the story with you. Remind me to lock my door, by the way, guys. This is super. I love Piper, but you're ruining the final thing, Pipe. Okay, anyway. Remember that point. 2 Fridays ago, 10 o'clock at night, I'm driving home. I turn down the final street to my house, and on the side of the road, I see a woman under the stoplight standing there. She's ready to cross the street. Or so I think. So what do? It's what Barbara would do. It's what Diane would do. It's what Marcos would do. It's what Nick would do. It's what Kelly would do. I stopped the car so she could safely cross the street. Because that's what we do. We're good humans. Despite all the garbage out there in the media, despite the violence and all the ridiculous nonsense killings out there, the overwhelming majority of people in this world are good humans, and I stopped the car to let this woman pass because she clearly needed to cross the street, Jody. Do you hear me? She needed to cross the street. You stopped the car. But look at the camera. Look at me now so you can really see. This is exactly what she did when I stopped the car. What? Just go. go, go. Yeah. Yeah, Diane's smiling now, but I bet if I was with Diane in the car, she'd be like, oh, honey, I'm gonna roll down the window, tell you something. And I thought, well, that's odd. Maybe she doesn't need to cross the street. I don't know. So I drove away and I looked in the rearview mirror, and David Young, Susie Baker, Becca, Liz, Cynthia, Mariah, guess what she did? Can you figure it out, Jen, Joel, Cal, Caitlin, Jody, Barbara, Joe? She crossed the street. She crossed the street. It shook me, guys. I thought about this woman all weekend because I'm a student of human nature. Why the F would she not cross the street until I left? What is that about? And then I remembered stories. And this is the worst trap that I want to leave you with. We're ruled by the stories that we tell ourselves. And I disrupted her story. Here's my theory. I could be wrong, but I'm rarely wrong at this stuff. This woman's story is nothing good happens to me. I'm a victim. Life is hard. There's no good people out there. And I come along and I disrupt her story. And we're ruled by the stories that we tell ourselves. Now, this is all conjecture. This is my hypothesis. You guys may have come to a different conclusion, and that's okay, but the point remains the same. As you move forward with your businesses, whether you're starting up or growing your businesses, I want you to remember the mind and brain operate on safety first, but just above that is the stories that we tell ourselves. The reason I created BombCom is because I don't want anybody who wants to grow their business to do it alone. Going it alone is a trap. We don't have to. We might be independent, but we don't have to be alone in the journey. So as you go about your life, whether you think about BombCom or not, I want you to take some time over the next couple of days just to think, what are the stories that I'm telling myself? Am I holding myself back? Or am I telling myself a story where I can be the winner? Well, this has been a charming time, and I appreciate the little bit of extra time today. The link to BombCom is in the chat, and I'll send out an email later. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate the heart. Yeah, and I'll send out the replay of the video with more information, but I really, really appreciate all of you. Oh, look at this. I love the little emojis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, guys. All right, be well, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.